Proctor, the state police trooper, being accused of planting evidence outside 34 Fairview Road, was never at Fairview Road on the day of the incident. Proctor and his state police partner traveled together the entire day while other officers were processing 34 Fairview. Trooper Proctor was not there and did not plant evidence at 34 Fairview Road. In addition to having no opportunity to plant the evidence, as has been suggested, Proctor would have no motive to do so. Trooper Proctor had no close personal relationship with any of the parties involved in the investigation and had no conflict. And he had no reason to step out of this investigation. Every suggestion to the contrary is a lie.
That's the Norfolk County DA, the one who's in charge of the prosecution of Karen Read. A public video that was released, very unusual, but again, this is a very unusual case in what's been happening. And there's been this groundswell up there in Canton and in the area, and there's been fingers pointed at people, including this Trooper Proctor. And you heard the DA say, listen, he didn't plant evidence, he wasn't even there, and he's not connected to anyone that was in the house or any of the parties involved here. Well, the defense is saying something completely different. But let's begin by taking a look at the Commonwealth's statement of the case. Okay, so this is from the prosecution side. They say, in this, Trooper Michael Proctor and Sergeant Yuri Buchanek were among the troopers whom responded to the scene and began interviewing witnesses. So this trooper, very important part of the defense case, according to the Commonwealth's statement of the case, was there. Then today in court, Alan Jackson went a little further to outline evidence that he believes shows that Trooper Proctor's and his family is connected to the parties involved here. Take a listen.
We've established that there is a close personal relationship between and among Michael Proctor and obviously Elizabeth Proctor and these third-party culprits that have been implicated in this case that we've brought to the court's attention, the Alberts and the McCabe's. So he calls the evidence that we've procured and that we've presented to the court as lies. Well, let's look at those lies for a quick second. We have presented the court with photographic evidence, not something that we came up with, something they came up with. Photographs in Exhibit C in our moving papers. And I'll just cover a couple of those. There's a photograph that we presented that shows Trooper Proctor's mother, with a person by the name of Colin Albert, pictured in the photograph, with Trooper Proctor's sister pictured in the photograph, with Chris Albert pictured in the photograph, and with Jennifer McCabe's own daughter depicted in the photograph. They're all together at a birthday party. These are close and immediate family members of the Proctor family, the Albert family, and the McCabe family, and they're all together and they're socializing. That's not a lie, it's a photograph. And it's unassailable evidence of that relationship. There's a second photograph of Trooper Proctor and Colin Albert in a wedding party together. And I would urge the court to note, they're not at a wedding together, they're in a wedding together, in the wedding party. There's a third photograph.
And when was that? When was that? When was that?
2012. So this relationship, as the court just noted, and I was about to get to in a second, is not just days old, months old, weeks old. This relationship is decades old between these families. There's another photograph that the court has seen, Trooper Proctor literally on the dance floor with Colin Albert. Trooper Proctor was seated at the same table having dinner with Colin Albert, Chris Albert, and Chris Albert's wife. But I would highlight the last point that I think should be highlighted for the court's attention, and that's the Facebook post. Trooper Proctor's mother refers to the Albert family as the Proctor's second family. So one might actually ask Mr. Morrissey, who's actually lying in this case?
Okay, so now let's take a look at this visually, because he's throwing a lot of names out there, and it's a little confusing, so I want to make it a little less confusing. So the Proctors are that's the trooper, but what is his connection to the Alberts and the McCabe's, et cetera? But who are these people? So this is the house where John O'Keefe was found dead on the lawn, okay? The owners of the house are Brian Albert and Nicole Albert. They are married. Now, Brian Albert has a brother named Chris who's married to Julie. They have a son named Colin. So Colin is an important name in all of this. Chris, Julie, again, brother of Brian Albert. Brian Albert and Nicole, they have children, Caitlin Albert, Brian Albert Jr., and then there's a friend of theirs, Julie Nagel. Then you look at Nicole Albert, her sister, another important name in all of this, Jennifer McCabe. Jennifer McCabe, who's married to Matt McCabe. So this is the house. So the night that John O'Keefe got out of the car in front of the house and either went to the party or was murdered or run over by Karen Read, who was in the house? Take a look. This is what's alleged here. Brian Albert's there, Nicole is there. Chris and Julie are not there, but their son, Colin, is there, which is Brian's nephew. Their kids are there. Brian Albert Jr., Caitlin, and their friend Julie. Also there, very significant, is Jennifer McCabe and Matt McCabe. All of this, trying to understand the names, the relationships, and does it all lead to some conspiracy, bias, framing, planning evidence? Let's bring in our guests. Joining us in New York City, attorney, podcaster Melanie Little is with us. In Boston, Massachusetts, criminal defense attorney and author of the books Super Predators and Law and the Tough on Crime Myth, Peter Ellikin is with us. And down in beautiful Jacksonville, Florida, retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Koffendorfer. Great to have everyone here. All right, Melanie, I'll begin with you. So is the defense really predicated on the fact that Trooper Proctor, who was at a wedding and his family is close with the Alberts, is literally planting evidence to literally frame Karen Read for murder? Is that what the defense is saying here, Melanie?
I think that's exactly what they're saying. And they're also saying that there are a lot of questions of fact here. You know, if Trooper Proctor, who was the lead investigator...
I hate to interrupt you. I just want to preface our entire conversation tonight. I'm not concerned about reasonable doubt, okay? Reasonable doubt, I want to know about the truth tonight. Because the defense is saying John O'Keefe was murdered by people in that house, and the prosecution is saying he was murdered by Karen Read. So I want to look at these as two cases and evaluate what's going on here. Let's begin with the defense case. So Melanie, go ahead. I'm sorry I interrupted you. But I understand this is a case that's going to be tough with reasonable doubt. But I want to get to the truth tonight. So what do you see in terms of these relationships? Is that enough? Like someone would do this? Frame this woman?
Well, I can't see why anybody would find it so beyond the pale that it could never actually happen. I mean, if it is true that Michael Proctor, who's the lead investigator on this case, has close ties to the Albert family and to the McCabe family, everyone inside that house was a relative except for one person. So if the defense can show that there are close second family type ties between everyone in that house and the lead investigator on this case, that could be something that definitely could lead to reasonable doubt. I know you don't want to go there, but that's exactly what they're saying.
I'm not concerned about the reasonable doubt tonight. Not tonight. When we get to the trial, I'll get to it. I'm trying to figure out the truth here, Peter, because I've got Alan Jackson, a former prosecutor who was amazing out in California, jumping up and down literally on the courtroom steps, telling us that the prosecution has it all wrong. The DA has this all wrong, and that it's the police who are responsible here.
Well, yeah, first of all, I'd say that there was such a conflict of interest here. Even the appearance of bias, I don't know why Trooper Proctor was in charge of this investigation. There's just too many times we saw that we just...
Well, the defense is saying he's in charge because he's framing Karen Read. That's why. He's not going to give up the lead on this because he's got to save, you know, his friend and his friend's son and whoever else they're going to allege did this and frame somebody for this.
Yeah, and I guess that's, I think we've all been seeing enough cases over the years that it's not absolutely beyond the pale that some police officer may not be truthful. So,
wait, there's a difference, though. This is a difference between not being truthful, forgetting something, and literally taking evidence and putting it somewhere so you can frame someone for murder, take away their liberty, and put them in jail for the rest of their life. This is different than just making a mistake.
do that to protect a friend, though, or you're long-term friends with the family? We saw it goes way, way back, and his mother is saying that the Alberts are a second family to her, and we have one of the family members, Jennifer McCabe, going to his house, who goes to a state trooper's whole personal home to go chat with them, and is not even reported in any paperwork. So with those kinds of biased ties, wouldn't there be a motive? Could anybody do that to protect their friends, to protect people you've known for years? And that's why when the DA here has said that it's a lie if you see any connection between him and the family, the facts just don't bear that out.
Yeah, that was baffling. And I'm glad you mentioned that. Let's take a listen to Alan Jackson today talking about that meeting on September 25th of last year.
On September 25th, 2023, that one of those family members, Jennifer McCabe, who's the subject of great interest in this case and a primary person of interest in this case, is invited to Trooper Proctor's personal home for some sort of off-the-books meeting. They've now admitted that Jennifer McCabe, a central character in the middle of this investigation, in the middle of this crime, was secretly meeting and or socializing with the lead investigator and or his wife in the living room of their home. And that, Your Honor, is a problem.
Okay, Jennifer, let me ask you, should we be concerned, when I say we, the public, that the DA comes out and says there's no relationship with the family here, Proctor had nothing to do with what was going on that day, and it seems that that's not necessarily true, and then McCabe going to Proctor's house? I mean, should there be some concern here?
I think it's very important to truly understand the relationship. Brian Albert, who lived in the house where this incident occurred out in the front, his brother's wife's sister was friends with Proctor's sister. Okay, that's how far removed. I just hope your audience, the
One more
attorneys that
time,
are
one more
present-
time, one more time.
Okay.
We'll do it
Brian
together.
Brother's wife's sister was friends with Proctor's sister. Okay? That's how far removed. In other words, I could tell you, I have no idea who my sister-in-law's sister's friends are. I mean, there's no way. I couldn't tell you one of them. I don't even know my sister-in-law's friends. And we're very close. So my point is, this is how far removed it is. And then it's, again, Proctor's sister. Trooper Proctor and Brian Albert, the home again, they had never even met each other. The pictures you're showing are his brother's family. His brother's family. And again, that's through this, removed relationship. So I think it's very important to understand that just because you have a Proctor there and an Albert there, they're not the same family unit. Second of all, everybody's forgetting about Brian Higgins. That chart, you're missing the ATF agent that was there. And that's very important too. So to have this conspiracy work, we have to have a Boston police officer, Canton Police, EMS, an ATF agent, the medical examiner's office, the district attorney, and the state police all combined to do this huge conspiracy against who? Nothing against Karen Read, but who is Karen Read? Karen Read is no one special other than she was dating in a relationship that was falling apart the victim deceased.
Okay, everyone stay where you are. We've got to hit a quick break. We've got to hit a quick break. When we come back, much, much more. Don't go anywhere.
Coming soon to Court TV.
These murders have shaken our community.
Why did you do it? The doomsday prophet, Chad Daybell.
Prosecutors say they will seek the death penalty against him.
A social media sensation, now a suspected killer.
Karen Read, she's accused of murder.
She says she's the victim of a police cover-up.
It's scary just knowing that he was so close.
The high-stakes trials you don't want to miss. Coming soon, only on Court TV.
Today.
All right, folks, there's the scene. Like I said, you don't see this. You just don't see this. So Matt Johnson, as we saw, has been up there this week. So he went to the neighborhood and is going to walk you through the story again. It's a very complicated story. And again, there's actually two stories we're talking about at the same time. What the prosecution says happened, what the defense says happened. Take a look.
We're here in Canton, Massachusetts. This is just outside of Boston. And on January 28, 2022, Karen Reed and John O'Keefe went out drinking. They went drinking here at the Waterfall Bar and Grill. Later that night, they decided to meet up with a couple of friends that were at a bar down the street. It's about a block away now, and they make their way over here to C.F. McCarthy's Bar and Grill, and they meet up with Jennifer and Matthew McCabe. Around midnight, the bars begin to close, so everybody is invited back to Jennifer's sister's house, which, according to GPS, is about an 8-minute drive. Let's go check it out. They eventually make their way here to Fairview Road in Canton and at this house. This house was owned by Brian and Nicole Albert. At the time, Brian was a good friend of theirs and also a police officer. Now, what happens next is what this case is all about. Prosecutors say that the couple actually got into a fight, and when O'Keefe exited the car, Karen Reed backed over him, leaving him to die in the curb here in front of this house during the snowstorm. Police collected a lot of evidence at the scene, including what appeared to be a broken cocktail glass with blood around it, and also a broken taillight. Now, Reed says when she pulled up to the house here, she wanted to know if the couple was really invited. It was late at night. So she watched John O'Keefe walk up to the front door over there. And when he didn't return to the car and didn't return her phone call, that's when she said she went to his house and fell asleep. The next morning, Karen Reed hasn't heard from John, so she starts making phone calls, and then she comes back here to the last place she says that she saw him, over at this house on Fairview. And that's when he's discovered, lying in the snow dead. Now, Reed's defense says a very different story. They say that John was actually beaten up in the basement of this house and attacked by the family dog. They claim that he was dragged outside and left in the snow to die. Now, being here on Fairview Road in Canton, a few things come to mind. Why didn't someone see anything? Because the neighborhood, it's fairly dense. The houses are close together. But you have to keep in mind that this happened in January, in the middle of the night, and it was also a snowstorm, whiteout conditions. Now, another key for the defense is the snowplow driver who said that he cleared Fairview Road here the morning that John O'Keefe was found dead. He claims that he didn't see a body in the road or near the road.
Okay, all my guests back with us, Melanie Little, Peter Elikin, and Jennifer Koffendorfer. Melanie, which case is easier to prove? That he was murdered in the house or that he was murdered by Karen Reed?
I have so many questions. I think it's easier to prove that he was murdered in the house.
Tell me why.
In my opinion. I mean, where's the dog? Where's the dog? I saw the photos of John Proctor's right arm that were taken at his autopsy. They have what clearly looks to me to be like animal scratches on them. All of a sudden, the family dog of 7 years, they had a German Shepherd in the house. The family dog is gone. They rehomed the dog. The dog is missing. The dog's DNA cannot be tested to see if those were, in fact, animal scratches. You know, there's a cocktail glass allegedly on the lawn. They never searched the inside of the house. Why did they never go inside the house to see if they had those type of glasses inside the house? Why was the basement flooring ripped up? The house was sold. Why did this police officer who owned the house and his wife never come out of their house to look at the scene when there is a dead police officer on their lawn? I have so many questions, and I think at the end of the day, the jury is going to have to decide the facts. And if we have so many questions from looking at these facts, I think a jury is going to have a lot of questions too.
Jennifer, which case is easier to prove?
Oh, without a doubt, the case that he was hit by Karen Reed. She had the motive. These are not dog scratches. That has been said by two medical examiners, separate medical examiners that examined him. Also, there were samples sent to a lab in California to test for non-human or canine DNA. Negative. So I find it so interesting that people want to look at a picture and all of a sudden they're medical examiners, they're doctors with PhDs, and they can say these are dog scratches. Second to the point there, the Brian Albert, they sold their house months and months after that. Also, they had a leak downstairs in the basement that resulted in quite a lot of damage, and that's why the flooring was replaced. As far as the dog, Chloe got into a fight with another dog in that neighborhood. And during that fight, one of the neighbors went to separate the two dogs and was scratched or bitten. And it was decided amongst the people that they would go ahead and rehome the dog as opposed to making an even larger deal out of it. So there are very logical explanations, but these are the types of innuendos that have been completely blown up.